Hello and welcome. My name is Meepolis, they, she, he, and this is Literally Graphic. And today, as the video title probably already told you, we are looking at my TBR for June. Couldn't quite fit it into May, but here we are. Still largely on track though, so gold stars all around. Lol. Before we jump right into the TBR, that I feel like more people are watching my videos when they initially come out, and some of that is also spilling over into extra thumbs up within the first few hours of posting. Thank you! It certainly gives me some extra warm and fuzzy feelings during these tumultuous times. Looking at the road ahead, the first book I hope to tackle this month is How to Be Ace, a memoir of growing up asexual by Rebecca Burgess, published by Jessica Kingsley Publishers in 2020. I'm finally picking this book up because it's part of the Realm of Comics book club. Quote, brave, witty, and empowering, this graphic memoir follows Rebecca as she navigates her asexual identity and mental health in a world obsessed with sex. From school to work to relationships, this book offers an unparalleled insight into asexuality. When I was in school, everyone got to a certain age where they became interested in talking about only one thing: boys, girls, and sex. Me, though, I was only interested in comics. Growing up, Rebecca assumes sex is just a scary new thing that they will grow into as they get older. But when they leave school, start working, and do grow up, they start to wonder why they don't want to have sex with other people. In this brave, hilarious, and empowering graphic memoir, we follow Rebecca as they navigate a culture obsessed with sex, from being bullied at school and trying to fit in with friends, to forcing themselves into relationships and experiencing anxiety and OCD before coming to understand and embrace their asexual identity. End quote. This will obviously also show up on my next A to Z of Queer Lit video. The rise in asexual discourse and representation has been one of my favorite things to watch over the last decade or so. The other title I'm planning on picking up for my next A to Z of Queer Lit video is Wynd, Volume 1, Flight of the Prince by James Tynion IV and Michael Dialynas, published by Boombox in 2021. This recent publication has also jumped to the front of the queue due to it being nominated for an Eisner Award. If you're interested in seeing all the books from this year's Eisner nominations list I've added to my TBR, I did make a TikTok on the subject, which I will link somehow. Quote, Wynd seems like a regular boy in the fantastical world of Asexual, except he's got a magical secret. Now he's set off on a journey with his best friend and the boy of his dreams to discover the magic in the world around him, and, most importantly, within himself. You can't find your home until you find yourself. End quote. Next, let's talk manga. As usual, I will be reading 2 manga this month. First off, I hope to do an initial thoughts video on Zom 100, Bucket List of the Dead, Volume 1, by Hiro Aso and Kotaro Takata. So far, there are at least 5 translated volumes and up to 11 published, and the series was recently nominated for an Eisner Award. It's been a long time since my last zombie phase, so I proceed, hopefully. Quote, after spending years toiling away for a soul-crushing company, Akira's life has lost its luster, but when a zombie apocalypse ravages his town, it gives him the push he needs to live for himself. Now Akira is on a mission to complete all 100 items on his bucket list before he, kicks the bucket. End quote. Secondly, we are once again returning to Jiro Taniguchi to read his entry in the Louvre Museum Comics series, Guardians of the Louvre, published in 2014 and translated in 2016. Quote, acclaimed manga artist Jiro Taniguchi provides the latest entry in the Louvre collection of graphic novels. After a group trip to Europe, a Japanese artist stops in Paris alone, intent on visiting the museums of the capital. But bedridden in his hotel room with fever, he faces the absolute solitude of one suffering in a foreign land, deprived of any immediate or familiar recourse. When the fever breaks somewhat, he sets out on his visit and promptly gets lost in the crowded halls of the Louvre. Very soon, he discovers many unsuspected facets to this world in a museum, in a journey oscillating between feverish hallucinations and reality. Actually able to speak with famous painters from various periods of history, led to crossroads between human and personal history by The Guardians of the Louvre, end quote. Switching over to my mainstream picks for the month, I initially was going to tackle Sandman Volume 8 this month, but then I realized that V for Vendetta was published by Vertigo, and that book has ended up straddling both May and June. There's only so many Vertigo titles I can stand per month, so I've switched to Marvel's Voices Identity, an anthology that, as you might guess, has been nominated for an Eisner. Quote, some of the best superheroes in comics get the spotlight in action-packed and heartfelt tales, including Shang-Chi, Miss Marvel, Jubilee, Silk, Wave, Wong, and Jimmy Woo. These amazing and legendary heroes star in stories from new and established Asian creators who will surely expand the world outside your window. Plus, thrilled to the start of a brand new storytelling eras for both Silk and Shang-Chi. Revisit classic tales featuring the brilliant mind of Amadeus Cho, join Kamala Khan in welcoming a new hero to New Jersey, and prepare for a very different look at the X-Men. End quote. The second mainstream pick is also my black comic pick for the month, namely Bayou, volumes 1 and 2 by Jeremy Love. Quote, from the original webcomics imprint of DC Comics. South of the Mason-Dixon line lies a strange land of gods and monsters, a world parallel to our own, born for centuries of slavery, civil war, and hate. Lee Wagstaff is the daughter of a black sharecropper in the Depression-era town of Sharon, Mississippi. When Lily Westmoreland, her white playmate, is snatched by agents of an evil creature known as Bog, Lee's father is accused of kidnapping. Lee's only hope is to follow Lily's trail into the fantastic and frightening alternate world. Along the way, she enlists the help of a benevolent blues-singing swamp monster called Bayou. Together, Lee and Bayou trek across a hauntingly familiar southern Neverland, confronting creatures both benign and malevolent, in an effort to rescue Lily and save Lee's father from being lynched. End quote. This month's Indigenous pick is the Arctic Comics Anthology published by Renegade Arts Entertainment in 2016. Quote, tales of myth, adventure, and humor told at the top of the world, written and drawn by Inuit and Northern Canadian storytellers and artists. End quote. I'm a sucker for punishment, so I will be reading 2 translated comics again this month. Also, you guessed it, they are both nominated for an Eisner. First, we have Parenthesis by Elodie Durand. Some of you might also recognize this book from my second anti-ableism TBR. Quote, Julie is barely out of her teens when a tumor begins pressing on her brain, ushering in a new world of seizures, memory gaps, and loss of self. Suddenly, the sentence of her normal life has been interrupted by the opening of a parenthesis that may never close. Based on the real experience of cartoonist Elodie Durand, Parenthesis is a gripping testament of struggle, fragility, acceptance, and transformation, which was deservedly awarded the Revolution Prize of the Angoulême International Comics Festival. End quote. Secondly, we have Orwell by Pierre Christin and Sébastien Verdier. Quote, George Orwell's most celebrated work, 1984, and the prescient vision of it contains of a society governed by Big Brother, predates the constant monitoring of people and data we are familiar with today by over 70 years. But his life was every bit as fascinating and forward-looking as his books. Orwell studied at Eton, joined the police in Burma, fought in the Spanish Civil War, fiercely opposed Stalinism, and lived in the London slums while working as a journalist. End quote. And the final graphic novel I hope to pick up this month is Belonging, a German reckons with history and home by Nora Krug, published in 2018. I originally planned to pick it up at some point around then, but got completely off schedule or something. I've meant to give it another go ever since, and today will be that metaphorical day. Quote, Nora Krug was born decades after the fall of the Nazi regime, but the Second World War cast a long shadow throughout her childhood and youth in the city of Karlsruhe, Germany. For Nora, the simple fact of her German citizenship bound her to the Holocaust and its unspeakable atrocities and left her without a sense of cultural belonging. Yet Nora knew little about her own family's involvement in the war, though all 4 grandparents lived through the war, they never spoke of it. In her late 30s, after 12 years in the US, Krug realizes that living abroad has only intensified her need to ask questions she didn't dare to as a child and young adult. Returning to Germany, she visits archives, conducts research, and interviews family members, uncovering in the process the stories of her maternal grandfather, a driving teacher in Karlsruhe during the war, and her father's brother, Franz Karl, died as a teenage SS soldier in Italy. Her quest, spanning continents and generations, pieces together her family's troubling story and reflects on what it means to be a German of her generation. End quote. Otherwise, I hope to also do 2 picture books highlighting videos, one on queer representation and another on Indigenous representation, because here in so-called Canada, that be the themes this month. And that is all they wrote. What will you be reading this month? Bye y'all, keep reading and organize to end capitalist oppression. And as always, Literally Graphic is created on land that should be given back to the traditional landholders, which in this case is, to my knowledge, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, Anishinaabe people, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat Nation.